You're listening to Stormin Norman, the king of rock and roll, above and beyond classics, better than the Animals, on 90.1 FM, KKFI, Kansas City Community Radio, my community radio station, says Clayton.
And Clayton knows what he's talking about. Clayton's the man. Thank you very much. 7:01, I am Stormin Norman, and we ended that set with Kansas City's legendary band, Grand Max. You guys might remember them. We heard Travels of Tim and Find a New Day. Another one of Kansas City's legendary bands is in studio right now. Dreamfeast has made it down here. I'm impressed that they did make it here, all three of them at the same time, and they're here in studio. Their new album is out. It is called Please Don't Wake Me. And let's say good morning to Paul.
Good morning, Kansas City.
And Rusty.
Hi, Norm. Thanks for having us.
And Michael.
Hello, Norman. It's good to see you again, brother.
Yeah, you were here a while back, and welcome back. You've put together a excellent new album, I think.
Thank you much.
It's called Michelangelo's Dreamfeast, Please Don't Wake Me, and I invited the entire band here. Luckily, they're just a three-piece, and congrats. I mean, we had high expectations for this because, Michael, you only put out an album once a decade or so.
Something like that. They're kind of rare and few and far between, but it keeps me hopping when I do get on it, you know.
Yeah, you had quite a while to work on this.
We actually started working. We worked on it about 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all together, and it was more of I want to say a labor of love, because we go back, me and the guys, way back to the 90s. We used to call ourselves Cinephus, and some of the people out there might remember that band from back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And we put out a couple of records back then and stuff, and we sort of went our way for a while. We never broke up per se, but we just kind of, floated off into the ether, as it were. And so Rusty got this crazy idea of us a couple of years back. He says, we got to do a record. So we got the guitars out and dusted off the drums and started recording, and that's what you got now. And we're really proud of this record. It's one of the best that I've been associated with in my career. I know that.
Yeah, has it been since 1999 since you did some recording?
Yeah, something like that.
94?
It's been a while.
94 was the last one, I think.
well, Paul and
94? Was it
94?
Yeah, in L.A.
Wow.
Yeah, in L.A., that's right.
You guys have known each other a long, long time, man.
Since the 80s.
Yeah. I can't get rid of these guys.
How'd you guys meet? Paul, do you remember?
Yeah.
Paul's a drummer here.
Well, actually, Michael and I met in the club circuit. Just got associated with each other through other members of other bands, and eventually he was looking to fill a spot, and I was looking to get out of a spot, and he stole me. He stole me from another band. He did.
Nice move.
He did. He enticed me, like a van with puppies and ice cream in it. It's like, hey, little drummer, come over here. But,
yeah. So you sit around in the studio just waiting, just sitting around a lot, huh? Just waiting for these guys to get it together. Who? Now, Michael, you write the lyrics normally, right?
And the music.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys have some input in the studio, or you just sitting around waiting for him to get it together?
No, they do.
Yeah, it's kind of organic. I mean, you'll start with a basic idea, and then we'll experiment around with it and try things. Some things work, other things don't, and just kind of throw them aside if they don't, and keep expanding on it, and eventually we end up with a song, and then another song, and then another song.
And sometimes I'll write something and just bring it into the guys, and we'll chop it up and make it our own.
And that was the case on about half of them on the new album. You brought it, about half of them in, and we would play them as you recorded them, or as you wrote them. The other half of them we wrote together.
Yeah, we just kind of work them out. Yeah. But it's all good.
Yeah.
Either way, it's good.
So Rusty's the guitar player, and you're pretty stoked about this album too, I guess.
Oh yeah, I had they let me do my thing.
Yeah,
all the guitars are played by me. Yeah, and so I got to do some layering and have some fun with it, and I had time to do what I wanted with it.
Yeah. Well, maybe you guys can convince Michael to get something out, sometime in the next decade again.
Right.
Well, Michael, let's go back before we get to the new disc, and we may have to go track by track because each track is a little story. I call this album almost like 3 EPs. There's some mellower stuff. There's some great classic rock. It's all good, and then there's some really heavy stuff. There's a song or two that even reminds me a bit of Rocky Erickson.
Ooh,
it's pretty. It's pretty out there, pretty good stuff. And of course, listeners have been hearing some of the songs, so they know what it's about. And we're going to hear a track in a little bit. But let's go way back to the beginning. Your beginning back in the 70s, mid 70s. Yeah. And your album that you put together was released in 77. It was recognized by collectors and critics all over the globe, and
it still is.
Yeah, it still is, and it just got a legitimate release a couple of years ago.
That's
on
right.
Anthology Records.
Anthology Records, that's right.
How did that come about again? Now, how did they get a hold of you? I guess
they contacted me. Actually, as I recall, I think I got a phone call from New York, and they got a hold of me and asked what I thought about doing that if they would release. I said, well, that'd be fine with me. Go right ahead. Because I when you do a project, you sort of want to move on to other things, which I have. I mean, I did that was a long time ago, so I didn't have a lot of interest in the thing in the first place, right? At this time. Mm-hmm. And so they did a really fantastic job. They released it on vinyl, and which the original was also, and it was just a real good product, and they've had a lot of luck selling them, and they're happy, and I'm happy, and
this all started. Your music career kind of started in a cave.
You did start in a cave. Me and Fred Flintstone, yes.
I was looking on the news, I guess it was last week, and there was an elevator that got stuck, and you say that's the same exact cave that
over on 31st and Mercer. Back then, there was a recording studio called Liberty Records, and I was a studio musician down there. Mm-hmm. And I'd go in and I'd do commercials, or I'd do artists would come in and they'd need a bass track or a guitar track or a piano or something, and I'd do the tracks for them and make my money, and and it was kind of a creepy place because back then there wasn't lights down there or anything much, and you drive down this big hole. It's like you're going into the bowels of hell, and you see this door and you go in the door, and you don't know if it's day or night down there because you're underground, obviously, But I heard, you guys are talking about this, the elevator getting stuck. That would be a little claustrophobic, I can imagine, because it was without an elevator, believe me.
Yeah. So how did this album? How did it get worldwide exposure? I mean, there's only 500.
It's a funny thing.
Yeah.
I got my fame from people stealing my stuff. Is basically the long and the short story of it. Mm-hmm. People were around Germany, Sweden, all over the place in Europe. These companies were pressing the album. They were taking copies of it and pressing it because the original masters had been destroyed long ago, and I didn't have the master tapes or the plates or anything to the album. So they were just basically making kind of junk copies off the thing, and they started selling them over in Europe all over the place. Mm-hmm. And what happened was the originals became a rare commodity, and as time went on, I started hearing about people paying $1,000 for these records and stuff. And I go, well, that's kind of bizarre. And I investigated further, and sure enough, they were. And collectors all over the world, I've heard them go as high as I think $1,350 for an original.
Wow.
But they're just collectibles. And it was a great album. I mean, it was a good album. I'm proud of it, But really, the fame of it comes from just people taking it illegally, because I never seen a dime of any of the money that from all these companies pressing it.
Right. Were you guys, Paul and Rusty, were you guys aware of this album that he had made in the 70s when you met him, or did he not tell you for a couple of years after he met you, or how'd that work out?
I wasn't aware of it when we first met. I knew he'd been, recording and putting out a number of different things, but I hadn't seen one or heard one or had one in my possession at that point in time. Although I think Rusty.
Well, I first met him in '89, and I'd say I'd known you a couple of months before you gave me a copy of the Michelangelo material, and I remember hearing "I'm in Love" for the very first time when you did that. You did all the harmonies, very Bee Gee-esque type of track, and I was blown away. And I just knew him as a hard rock guy. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, it's amazing.
Yeah. What do you say I put together a little medley of songs. We'll just throw about 20-some seconds of each. The first 3 songs from this 1977 classic.
Cool.
From Michelangelo, and then we'll come back and talk again.
Speed of the morning, dancing through the universe, bringing me again home. The stars fade out of my sight, and suddenly I drift off in a dream of beautiful flowers and perfect. What is the world to be? My children of the world, is it a lie? Look what you've done. You must have lost your...
That's some beautiful stuff. I'm sorry, that album. Yeah,
It's wonderful.
It is wonderful, and acid folk. Psych is what they called it. The new album is completely different. Completely different.
But an interesting thing, though, Norm, about the original Michelangelo, it had never been performed live, because I'd never put a band together and played any of those songs live. Mm-hmm. So last year, I got a call from Montreal Pop Festival and wanted me to perform the original album. So I talked to Rusty and Paul. I said, would you guys be interested in going to Canada and making some noise with the old... And they said, yeah, and we rehearsed it.
So we were the Michelangelo band.
Yeah, they became the Michelangelo
original
band.
material.
So we got it all together, went up there, had the show, came back down here, and then, matter of fact, and then we did the Outer Reaches concert last year.
In Kansas City.
The Record Bar.
Mm-hmm. And that was the first time the album had ever been played live in the United States.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of excited about that, but it's like that's over. Now we did that. Now we got to get back to our stuff again, you know.
Yeah. You've been writing songs since you were a little kid. 14. And
my first, yeah.
The songs for the new album, are some of these really old, or were they just recently written?
Well, actually, some of them are recently written. Some of them from last year or 2 years ago. A couple of them we had actually recorded out in L.A. We had got signed with Statue
Records, yeah.
And we had done some recordings of them, but the company didn't seem like they were going to get it done. And we kind of blew the whole thing off when we came back to Kansas City. Well, we didn't want to have any legal problems, so I told the guy, I said, well, if we want to release some of these songs, we're going to need to re-record them again. So we've done brand new recordings of these songs. Like, for instance... Until.
That's one of them. Shut Down Again.
Queen of the Sun. Yeah, there's 3 of them on there that we had originally done in L.A. Mm-hmm. But now they're out for everybody, and they're new recordings. Mm-hmm. So
I think we'll talk about Rusty. I know you engineered and produced this album, and you can tell us how that wild ride went.
It was wild. We don't have... state-of-the-art gear like this. We got good gear, but I was dealing with... we pieced it all together with what we had, and we had our digital board that we recorded on, and did the bass and drums in Michael's studio.
Yeah.
And just worked our way from there. I ended up doing all the guitars and the vocals in my studio. Mm-hmm. And it was quite a task. It was more than I had bargained for. It ended up, I think I mixed for a year.
Yeah. There's a lot of layers in this music and
Yeah.
stuff. So, yeah, I could see.
Yeah, he did. Rusty just did a beautiful job producing this.
And how did you come up with the final whatever? Because I bet you've got 1,000 songs written. How did you come up with these songs that you picked? Was it just,
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It just boiled to the top.
Because
really.
this album, it almost seems like, I mean, anybody could like this because there's a little bit of something in everything. And this title track I've got queued up, Please Don't Wake Me. Believe it or not, RJ, on Friday mornings, we talked about it, and I said, well, that song could be a hit at a strip club.
Yeah, and you know what? That's kind of what it's about. It's about a guy getting a girl on a motorcycle and going to a party at a club, and all heck breaks loose. And
and there's a line of something about your booty. Shake that booty.
Shake your booty, and she ends up leaving with a guy from Laredo. From Laredo.
And the original working title of that song. Remember what it was called?
No.
We were calling it Party before we had a name for it.
It was called Party. That's right. That's right.
Interesting. Well, let's go ahead and listen to the title cut from Michelangelo's Dreamfeast, and it's called Please Don't Wake Me. Woo! That's a good one, man.
I need a nap.
Get your blood going on.
One Freddie boy.
Yeah, that's
I'm awake now.
every song's different though. Every song is completely
wake
different. I mean, and Michael, you wrote every one of these songs.
No, just myself. I probably wrote half of them, and then the other were basically
The three of us.
the three of us
Yeah.
together writing it.
We wrote that one together.
That was one of them that we wrote together. And if you notice what's cool in that, during his solo, there's actually 5 key changes in his solo, which is kind of rare.
And I had to solo over that crap.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, let's not leave Paul out. Paul's the drummer, and what's it like in studio? And what's your? How do you explain your style of drumming? Who's your influences?
Oh man, influences go all the way back to one Mr. Buddy Rich. That's actually who got me started down that road. When I was a young kid, my dad was involved in the music industry, and he'd always tell me, oh, you got to watch, because one artist or another was going to be on the Ed Sullivan Show, and so Buddy Rich was on one particular night. My dad's like, you got to watch this guy. It's like, whatever. So I watch him, and all of a sudden my eyeballs got great big around, and it just kind of turned on a light, and it went from there forward, and going into the late 60s and into the 70s, a lot of major influences there.
Gene Krupa was back in that Buddy Rich era.
Oh, yeah.
Those two were kind of neck and neck, right?
Yeah, I'd say capability-wise they were. They kind of had a different approach. Mm-hmm. Gene Krupa, he was probably the first double bass guy that that I was exposed to, and he had a little more flash and flair to what he did. He was a little more of a ham, I think, about it.
That suits you well.
Yeah,
you got a lot of the ham protocol.
Yeah.
So how's your
and ham? That's right.
How's your knees holding out? Everything?
My knees?
Yeah, kicking those double bass. Yeah.
He's got knees.
I have I have very healthy knees. They're larger than the average knee because of
we've got
all the exercise.
Yeah, we got a few more years of use out of you. Then.
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, Michael, that's
So
awesome.
look at the knees on that boy.
Right. Yeah. How about Keith Moon? I guess you're a big.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild
Keith,
man.
Ginger Baker.
Ginger Baker, yeah. You got a lot of Ginger Baker.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, my friend Carmine Apiece his influences were Buddy Rich and Krupa, and I think he's had a few shoulder operations and I think a knee or two also. So yeah. It's a tough job. I mean, you're doing all the work.
Pretty physical, so it's
doing all the sweating.
We use a whip on him. It doesn't, if
Did you hear that, guys? I'm doing all the work.
Yeah,
I was trying to ignore that.
Heard it on the radio, so it must be true.
Must be true, man.
Right. Are you in some other bands in Kansas City here?
Yeah. I'm in one other band called Collapse. It's pretty aggressive. A lot
Heavy
of high
metal.
energy. Yeah, somewhere between metal and punk.
Yeah.
Punk intensity of energy.
Any upcoming gigs? Gig you think of?
No, just had one this past week. So we don't play that often. So try to keep it fresh for the people that do want to come around to see us.
And Rusty, I know you're in at least one other band, right?
Oh yeah. I play in a band called Switch here in Kansas City. We play every weekend. We're a busy band. In fact, we're going to Lake of the Ozarks this weekend.
Right on.
So,
and it's kind of covers, mostly covers?
Yeah, it's all covers. Yep. Super fun.
A lot of fun. Who's in the band? Tell us who.
Dean Foltz, Kim Foltz, Bob Horner, and Brian Couch, and myself. And we've been together the band's been together for 10 years. I've been with the band 7 years.
Awesome.
So,
yeah. And Michael, I know you kick around.
I'm with a group locally called Heads Up with Roger Snow, John Gutierrez, and Bo Zeller, and we do just cover stuff. And this was kind of interesting. We've all got cover bands that we play in, but we do the recording and all that. The concert work, just the three of us, is kind of a separate entity.
It's really for ourselves. It's a way to get our creative juices out,
Because we really don't want to tour and all the lot, We kind of got, our feet kind of settled in here in KC, and it just kind of works out that way pretty good, actually. And then we don't get sick of each other, see? It works out great.
Right. Well,
in theory.
Maybe we can work in one more song before we get to the 7:30 break. And the album, like I said, it sounds like it's 3 different EPs at least, and it kind of turns heavy when it gets to a song called Catcher the Kill.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the one, it kind of reminds me of Rocky Erickson.
Telling the story.
That song is interesting. We built that together, but the concept of lyrically that I had in mind was of fighting your own personal demons, be it if you're an alcoholic or if you're a drug addict, or maybe it's power, things that you lust for that eventually overtake you and destroy your life. And that's really the premise. And when I did the vocals on that, I'm literally in primal scream. I'm screaming the thing as loud as I can possibly scream it. Rusty's earphones were about to pop off.
My neighbors are still asking me about that.
They were taking children off the street. It was scaring the neighborhood. It was loud.
Yeah.
And but I approached it that way because it just seemed like it's got to be approached as a torturous song. It just has to be that way, know. So and it worked out great, I think.
Right. Yeah. Huh. Well, I've got to listen to that again and again.
Yeah,
maybe I can get a lesson from that.
We recorded the lead vocals with the window open. It was the springtime, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We had the window open, and he's standing right next to the window in my neighborhood, screaming this song, "Bloody Murder,"
and it hurt.
And it's echoing around the houses and everything.
Paul, that's probably your favorite song. You like it when it turns heavy, like that, like Catcher the Kill.
Yeah, I think maybe I've got a little more of a preference toward heavier stuff than the other guys do. I mean, we all three of us like a variety of different styles and directions. That seems to be more of my natural inclination. One of those $5 words there.
Well, when that album does take a turn, actually it turns at Queen of the Sun. Then there's Catcher the Kill and Kraken's Witch.
Yes,
and all 3 of those are just monster heavy songs. And RJ and I really, really like Queen of the Sun.
Thank you.
Tell us about that a little bit, and we'll hear it after we hear from
that. Was a group write.
We wrote that in 93.
93, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and like I said, there was one that we did out in L.A., and they didn't really get the thing released, so it was kind of dead air. And we said, well,
Nobody'd heard it. Let's do it again.
Revive it, yeah.
Yeah.
So we re-recorded it because we thought it was a good song too.
It's one of my favorites.
We've been playing that Fridays and Mondays, Queen of the Sun, and we're going to hear that right after we hear from Mr. Jim Hightower.
Donald Trump says nobody knows more about trade than me. But surprise, I'll tell you one group who does. Today on Hightower's Radio Lowdown.
Back in studio, Stormin Norman with you, along with Michael Angelo. He plays the bass and vocals on the new album, Rusty Cruz, guitar and vocals, and Paul Ali. Am I saying that right, Paul?
Yes, you are.
And
Thank you.
Drums and vocals. All three of you do a little bit of vocals. And
I do the
I'm the main
littlest
voice,
bit.
and these guys do the backups and stuff.
Yeah.
All that lot.
let's hear this song, Queen of the Sun. It's RJ and I's favorite song off this album. It's probably one of you guys' favorites, too.
Yep.
It is.
And as we play this song, listeners can call in, and the third caller will win a free CD courtesy of Michael Angelo's Dreamfeast. 816-931-5534 is the number to call. 816-931-5534. Third caller wins the CD. Dreamfeast, and that's a great song there, Queen of the Sun. This is different. Every song, like I said, every song is different. It's like 3 different EPs. Did you consciously try to make it this way, Michael, or
Not
just
really.
ended
It just
up?
kind of fell out like that, didn't it, guys?
The flow just... yeah.
Just, if it was a song we liked and we wanted to do, we would record it. It just seemed, when you lay the thing out and listen to the whole thing in its entirety, it all seems to fit
And that was our
together.
intention. We wanted to make like an old style album where you sit and listen to the album as a work,
Yeah.
Yeah,
which isn't done much anymore.
yeah, you're right.
It's coming back.
Yeah. You know, in the old days, I went to a concert. I was talking to somebody. In the old days, it was Todd Rundgren's Utopia, the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and Black Oak. It was very varied.
Yeah.
And that's that little variance kind of keeps you interested. And,
Absolutely.
And so you guys can do anything. I mean, you could make a heavy metal album. You could do...
The sound on the album, it's funny that we were even kind of, there was a little bit of jazz in there and some of that stuff.
Well,
we don't do jazz, but we were doing it. It's like
The bridge on that particular song.
Yeah,
is
that's kind of jazz,
yeah.
But it's just, I don't know, it's just the way the thing laid out. It just worked out that way. But it's great. It's just, we're happy with it.
Yeah.
And even the last song, I mean, we go through the heavy stuff, and then there's a song at the end that's a Tin Pan Alley song from the 1920s. I mean, how far from, diversity can you have?
And on that particular song, Read My Lips, we all played different instruments than we played on the rest of the record. He played acoustic guitar on that particular track. I played mandolin.
Yeah.
Or no,
Ukulele.
Yeah.
You played
and you played drums. You did all
he
the work.
played a box.
I played a wooden box and a kazoo.
And we all played kazoo on that. Yeah.
But it's worlds apart from the other stuff. They're all different.
Oh, okay. Let's kind of go track by track. We got about 19 minutes left in the show. So the first song is called Hollywood Road, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Randy California in spirit. I think they had a song, Hollywood something, and what was that inspired by? And that ended up being a single?
I wrote that song a couple of years back, and what I was thinking of at the time was 1960s L.A., not present day, but back then, because I make references like to Blue Smoke Genies, like to Barbara Eden, and stuff like that in it. But the whole thing, because I was thinking about what the whole Hollywood scene was like back then, as opposed to now. It's just kind of whack out there, but it's like the whole lyric thing just it comes to the present, but it's all mentally in mind. When I wrote the thing, it was about the past. And glass bikinis, that came from, there was a story back in the 60s of some girl who had a glass bikini on out there, which that just intrigued, and that stuck in my head all these years, and I had to throw that on there, you know. But that's where that one comes from.
Just great lyrics, I tell you. It's really interesting
Take
stuff.
it or leave it, I tried to warn you. Everybody's crazy in California. That
part
line is like,
still
I got a song.
Still applies.
I got a song.
Yeah, and this, now we go to the second song, and this one kind of perplexed me a bit because the odd vocals
Perplexes us.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're saying in that, and it's called "Dead in London."
Dead in London, and the backup vocals on that is actually our wives. We wanted a sound of children in a playground, and we thought, what's the closest thing we could get to that, as opposed to dragging a bunch of kids in the studio?
We thought that'd be awkward.
We'd use our wives to sing this part, and it sounded kind of. And we told them sound like children, and that's what they did.
They laughed, and we had a great time tracking that.
It's an odd song, but I wrote that years ago, and it's basically my imagination of a person, this lady that's a drug addict, and she dies in London from all the junk she's doing and everything, and that's basically the course of the thing. But it's a strange.
And that song has a Beatles reference.
Yes, it does. Yes.
We're all big Beatles fans.
Yes, we are.
Oh, who isn't?
Love the Beatles.
right.
Love the Beatles.
Oh, by the way, congratulations to Mark. He won the CD. So,
Awesome. Thanks, Mark.
So, and they will sign it for you. And
Yes, we will.
we may even do another one of those at the end of the hour.
Yes, we will.
Right on. Okay, you guys are great. Thanks for coming in, and we're going to go now to the next track. Actually, we skip around a little bit. We heard "Please Don't Wake Me." That's the song with the "Shake My Booty," "Shake That Booty," gentleman's club music.
Yes.
Then all of a sudden, you guys completely switch to a song, a beautiful tune called 69.
That's probably my favorite track. I really, really love that song.
Yeah. Did you have a lot of input in that one?
No, that's Michael's. He brought that to us. I played it as Michael wrote it, and I've actually played several versions of that over the years with you. And this is yet a different version in a different key.
Because it's never been recorded.
We used to play it in D, I think.
We used to mess with it. We never recorded it.
Yeah, we played it live in our cover bands or whatever. But it's a wonderful track.
Yeah, awesome stuff there. So then the album turns heavy, and we go to "Queen of the Sun," "Catcher the Kill," and Kraken's Witch. What is that? What is that
Kraken's
inspired
Witch
by?
Is basically about a witch that flies around on a broomstick and attacks little children and scares everybody in town, and nobody likes her.
Okay, and you just kind of.
It's just out of my fertile, strange mind.
Yeah.
I don't know what made me do that.
Yeah.
Might have been the beer talking. I don't know.
That's a great song. And I know people are sitting at home kind of scratching their heads thinking, well, I don't know these songs, but they're kind of getting familiar with them. Yeah. We sent out about 10 of these during the fund drive to people so some people have heard this and they know where we're coming from, and others will be able to get it. Where is this album available at? Is it on CD Baby?
Yeah, CD Baby carries the physical CDs. Downloads are on iTunes and Amazon. Yeah.
Okay.
And a bunch of other. Spotify, Pandora has got it.
Okay.
It's all over the
place. All over the place, yeah.
Okay, and it's Michael Angelo's Dreamfeast. Please Don't Wake Me.
That's
Brand
it.
new. Just released the end of June.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Just a couple weeks ago.
Okay, so we get back down to actually another one of the greatest songs. RJ and I just love this song, and I think it actually his favorite, Goodbye, Goodbye.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's your wife's favorite, too.
That's my wife's favorite, yes.
Yeah, real pretty song.
She plays that a lot.
She says it a lot. Goodbye, goodbye.
Yes, well, that's true. Yes.
No, that's a beautiful song, and that was inspired by anything special.
You know what?
Yeah.
When I wrote that, it had completely different lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, I think I did about 2 or 3 different rewrites because I just couldn't find the lyric that captured what I was trying to say against the music until what's ultimately on there now, which is about saying goodbye to someone you love, and you have to leave. And everybody's been through this with somebody in their life. Either somebody goes to war, or somebody dies, or something, somebody close to you. And I just thought the music of that it was very apt for something that was in that vein. And what I love, I think more than anything about that song is the solo that Rusty does in that thing. That is just a monster solo. And it just drives me crazy how you do that.
I'm not sure how. It just comes out.
Yeah, so I guess what have we played so far? Queen of the Sun and Please Don't Wake Me.
Yes.
I suppose we could work in that song, Goodbye, Goodbye, if we had to.
Got time?
That's right.
That would be beautiful.
Before we do that, because that is a great goodbye song, I think we're going to have to play a song by another local artist, our friend Joey Skidmore. You guys know Joey.
Oh, yeah.
He's
He
got
rocks.
the Skidorama Garage Fest playing Knucklehead September 16th with original members of Question Mark and the Mysterians and the Shadows of Night.
Ooh.
So he's got several bands lined up for that. And
Can we get tickets?
I think they're on sale now. So yeah, let's take a little detour here. We'll hear a song from Joey Skidmore's brand new release. It's a 2-CD set called Rollin' with the Punches. There's another fun guy right there. That's a local legend, Joey Skidmore. Creature of Habit, that's on the new CD, Rolling with the Punches. It's 2 CDs worth of Joey Skidmore material. And once again, he'll be playing Knucklehead September 16th, the Skidorama Garage Fest. How awesome is that? You guys, you guys played at the Record Bar a while back, but no gigs imminent at this time.
Not of the three of us.
But you'd like one.
Separately.
Separately.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We played a lot separately, but we haven't got anything together live just between the three of us.
Not at the moment.
Yeah.
At the moment. We're going to be doing some stuff in the future. We just haven't nailed it all down yet.
Yeah. Once again, Rusty, I know you guys got Switch playing this weekend.
Every weekend.
Every weekend. People love the cover bands.
It's fun, yeah.
Yeah. Ed Riggs, bass player, he's got a cover.
I know Ed.
Yeah. What's his band?
Gale Pectones.
Gale Pectone. They're
Fantastic band.
Another great cover band.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him. Grew up in the neighborhood with him, and he had a band called Raven and Wakefield. Way back in the day, I believe he was in those bands. Great bass player, been around forever.
Yeah.
And, Switch has been around how long now?
11 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. A lot of gigs then.
Lots of shows.
1,000 gigs there in those years.
I don't remember where we played last weekend.
I don't either.
Well, let's everybody give any contact information you want, any Facebook, websites, anything people can get a hold of you.
The Facebook page, what is it? Facebook.com/Dreamfeast, I think.
Dreamfeast.
Search for it. On Facebook we're listed as Dreamfeast.
Yeah.
So just search for Dreamfeast and there we are.
Yeah. Anything else? We'll get to this song, Goodbye, Goodbye. It's a great one. And we'll close it out and say thank you for coming in. And
It's been great being here, Norm. You're tops.
Thank you. Most awesome having you in here. And hopefully people will enjoy the music. This is Goodbye, Goodbye, Michael Angelo's Dreamfeast.
Goodbye, baby, don't cry. Got a ticket to fly. Gonna face the morning sun with your tears in my eyes. Whoa, baby, you know that I've been missing you so, and it's gonna seem forever until I get home. Goodbye, goodbye, my love, goodbye. It's time for me to carry on. Goodbye, goodbye, my love, goodbye. It's time for me to carry on. Oh my, baby, it's time. I gotta leave it behind. But you know that you will never be out of my mind. So long, baby, hold on. Miss me when I'm gone. Think about our love together with you in one song. Goodbye, goodbye, my love, goodbye. It's time for me to carry on. Goodbye, goodbye, my love, goodbye. It's time for me to carry on. Goodbye, baby, don't cry. We got a ticket to fly. Gonna face the morning sun with your tears in my eyes. Whoa, baby, you know that I've been missing you so. It's gonna seem forever until I get home. Goodbye, goodbye, my love, goodbye. It's time for me to carry on. Goodbye, goodbye, my love, goodbye. It's time for me to carry on.
Workers Independent News Week in Review.
For a win, I'm Joanne Powers. Nissan Assembly Plant.